breaking news out of Canada. We're going back up to the Great White North, and the insanity keeps on getting more insane. We are now, if we weren't before, we are definitely now in wartime, and it's been a crazy 24 hours. And this is on the heels of a shooting aimed at the Rizzuto mob headquarters in Laval last week. And then on Tuesday, the assassination of Montreal Irish crime lord Kyle Grabowski. And this is only about 15 hours after Rizzuto mob street boss David Baldy Barbario has his establishment, Beaches Bar and Grill, shot up in an attack that did not happen overnight like all the previous shootings, but this happened during business hours. A lot to unpack. I've been tapping my sources for the last 24 hours, and I have a lot of new breaking news to report related to the Kyle K Irish is his nickname, Grabowski assassination. And I have information about the Barbario shooting, and they're all connected. And there are, as we speak, alliances shifting in real time once again in this very uncertain, unstable, and unpredictable Canadian underworld. It's every couple days there's another shooting, and this is the third gangland assassination since the leadership of the Rizzuto mob was incarcerated in the spring and early summer of 2025 in relation to Project Alliance. I'm almost at a loss. This is happening so fast, breakneck pace, to go from the shooting at Cafe Juliana a few days ago, aiming right at the nerve center of the Rizzuto mob. Monday morning, we have, or Monday night into Tuesday morning, we have the shooting at Beaches. I should say it wasn't into Tuesday morning. It was Monday night, where an assailant took a attack posture with a rifle in front of Beach's front window, where there were patrons in there eating and drinking at around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and shot into the establishment. Luckily, nobody was hurt, nobody was injured, but this was brazen in a world of brazen behavior. This is putting innocent people's lives directly in the line of fire. So again, a lot to unpack here, and I think my biggest reveal is, just like with Sylvain Kabuchi back in the summer, just like Bobby the Greek in the fall, K Irish was allegedly, based on my sourcing, murdered at the on order of the Rizzuto mob. And the Rizzutos are on the warpath since Project Alliance dropped, and the moment the Crown started locking up these key members of the Rizzuto mob, the enemy smelled blood in the water and started attacking, and the Rizzuto mob has been under siege now for 10 months. And this was following a short period of peace that came on the heels of the 2-year war with the Hells Angels. So it's never ending. And I think in terms of where the Rizzutos are coming from, and this is, I guess, more analysis than reporting, but I guess it's analysis of my reporting. Leo Rizzuto is responding to being incarcerated almost in a polar opposite way than his dad did 20 years ago. When his dad was sent out of the country to the United States to serve prison time for the Three Capos murder, and all hell erupted pretty quickly, leading to the murder of a big chunk of the Rizzuto bloodline. You learn from the past, you learn from history, you learn from your predecessors' maybe mistakes or miscalculations. And this is Leo Rizzuto and the leadership of the Montreal Mafia saying, we might be behind bars, and we might potentially, with Project Alliance, if they get convictions, they might be in bars for the next decade plus. But they're making statement after statement that anybody that joins this most recent iteration of an insurrection is going to be dealt with swiftly and lethally. Talking about the shifting alliances, before a couple days ago, you would have thought that everything was copacetic between the Irish and the Sicilians. The West End gang has long been affiliated with the Rizzutos, the Hells Angels, and has not been a part of any of these insurrections that started when Vito Rizzuto got locked up and sent out of Canada, and it's just been wave after wave with Vito himself, gone for 13 years now. He died of cancer in the middle of this whole thing, but you don't have any hesitation from the Rizzutos to assert their authority on the street right now. And you have these upstarts, and based on our reporting, it's all coming from the Arab Power guys who might have aligned with the Tupac guys, the Tupac Tupac and his Rat Pack. But the Irish had always been strong allies of the Rizzutos. Big Jerry Maddox died a month ago. We reported that Kyle Grabowski, K Irish, was part of the new leadership. If not, Andrew Griffin is the boss based on our reporting. But in terms of guys on the street day to day handling West End gang affairs, K Irish was at the forefront of that. Based on further reporting and sourcing here, I'm told that K Irish was trying to backdoor the Rizzutos here and cut a deal with the Arab mob, or I should say Arab Power, and cartels in Mexico to push out the Rizzutos and the Hells Angels. I have not been able to lock down what this says overall about the West End gang and Andrew Griffin and the remaining parts of the Maddox Irish mob empire. I don't think this was a move by the entire West End gang, but a slice of Irish organized crime in Montreal under the West End gang banner, led by K Irish. His crew was called the Irish Kings. he was allegedly a member of the union. We'll get into that in a moment. But it appears that he was attempting to backdoor the Rizzutos, join the insurrection, that he was scheming with Bobby the Greek. Bobby the Greek's gunned down in October at the Starbucks in Laval. We reported that only a couple weeks after the Rizzutos got locked up, the number 2 in Arab power, Sylvain Cabucci, the Storm, is killed in prison. Almost the moment that the Rizzuto mob top lieutenants start getting locked up, underboss Pete D'Adamo being the first in March, within a week or two, the attacks start, and the businesses owned by the Rizzutos start getting shot up and firebombed. There was a small respite, and then everything really ramped up in the fall around the holidays, shootings and firebombings. The Beaches, the club that got shot up just last night, Baldy Barbario's spot, came under attack in a firebomb attack in December. Then on Monday evening, Beaches is once again targeted by attack. It's right in Saint Leonard. It's right in Little Italy. 15 hours later, K Irish is gunned down, walking out of a smokehouse, a barbecue joint. 40 years old. Did a lot of, from what I'm told, did a lot of politicking behind bars. And this was something that was possibly, if not very likely, in the mix in K Irish's mind, something he'd been plotting and scheming with people that he had met behind bars. Some of these ties into the Mexican cartels, from what I'm told, and trying to broker connections with the Arab power guys, so they have a supply source. He was seen, I guess, with Bobby the Greek in the time before Bobby the Greek's assassination, and now he's dead. This is clearly the Rizzuto mob acting in response, based on my reporting and my sourcing. The murder of K Irish was a direct response to what happened just hours earlier, and second firebombing or shooting attack at Baldy Barbario's restaurant bar Beaches. And K Irish was held responsible for these attacks, working with Arab power. So I'm still processing this. I got so much information coming from all different directions here, but it appears that at least a faction of the Irish mob was aligning, either out in the open or behind the scenes, aligning against the Rizzuto mob and the leadership of Leo Rizzuto, Pete D'Adamo, Baldy Barbario, and those guys that are locked up right now and at a serious disadvantage. And that's why I say, it's not we don't believe in coincidences here at the OG Pod. The second that these guys start getting locked up, it becomes a concerted effort to diminish and undermine them, and once again try to cripple the Rizzuto mob dynasty, topple it from behind bars based on these 3 assassinations. It's pretty clear the Rizzutos will not go down quietly, and that unlike Vito Rizzuto, who bided his time and was more reactionary, now he came home in 2012 and went scorched earth on his enemies for the 14 months that he was alive and free. But I think he was more deliberate and more revenge is a dish best served cold, while the new Rizzuto regime, the new era Rizzuto regime, who was Leo Rizzuto, and starting with myself, really not given his due when he first grabbed the reins. And maybe it was growing pains, and maybe it was just finally finding your groove as a Don, but he is firmly in control of that organization from behind bars and is imposing his and his organization's will on anybody that turns on him. And he's doing it right off the bat. I mean, we're talking with Kabuchi, it was a couple weeks. A couple months later, it's Bobby the Greek. And then first couple weeks of the new year, K Irish gets it just a couple hours after Baldy Barbario's spot gets lit up. It's crazy. I'm sure I'll have more to report as days go on and weeks go on and I get more. But right off the jump, I was getting, this is the Rizzutos again. K Irish and his guys try to cut a side deal, try to do an end around. I'll repeat, I don't know if there is if K Irish was doing this solo with just his Irish King group, or was he being empowered by the leaders of the West End gang, Andrew Griffin and his guys. It remains to be seen, but let's go back a year or so, and we reported about the conclusion of the Hells Angels Rizzuto mob war and how that all got resolved because of Pete D'Adamo, who, by the way, was close with K Irish. Both come from LaSalle. Pete D'Adamo has always been the representative for the Rizzutos with the West Enders. And Pete D'Adamo, just 14 months ago, tapped K Irish to be part of the union. And, some more exclusive OG Pod reporting that we put out in 2025, that the union is a regulatory body put together by the Hells Angels and the Rizzuto mob, with representatives from different street factions to enforce order, enact policy, mediate disputes, kind of like what the Wolf Pack is in other parts of Canada. It was a brainchild of Pete D'Adamo. And based on our early reporting there, the Irish Kings and K Irish, Kyle Grabowski, was integral in putting the union together, getting it up and running. Him and his people, he had a lot of, and we reported this before when we were talking about him, I think just at the end of 25, when we were talking about what the state of the Irish mob in Montreal was, that K Irish was somebody that benefited from a long sentence in prison, did a lot of politicking. And maybe he was too smart for his own good here and politicked his way into the grave. So it's just, in a year's time, it went from somebody whose faction was formidable and appeared to be in line to become an official leader of the West End gang, but was an unofficial street boss, and was firmly or seemingly firmly pro Rizzuto, that at some point in late 25, less than a year after the union was constructed, made the decision to go against the Hells Angels, go against the Rizzuto mob, team up with Arab Power. And Arab Power right now is the wild card of all wild cards. We know about Tupac. He's been, he hasn't been independent for a long time, but he's been a player for 20 years, one way or the other. Started with the Black Mafia clique and was under Greg Woolley, was with the Rizzutos, then became members of the Hells Angels camp, possibly allegedly involved in murdering Woolley, anointed the godfather of the street gangs. There was rumors that the Rizzutos were planning on trying to kill him, but made it seem like they wanted to bring him back into the fold. It all fell apart about a year ago, and Tupac goes solo, gets linked up with Ryan Wedding in the Sinaloa cartel, and it wasn't expected, but he's somebody that had been around. The Arab Power group especially in the last 5 years, but they weren't around. They've only been around for 10 years. They've only been in existence for 10 years. And to be as almost reckless in going about your business, but maybe it's controlled chaos, that these guys are so over the top in their bold and brash behavior, the violence that they're putting towards the Rizzutos and the Hells Angels, being very antagonistic, and I would say that this is a situation where the Rizzuto mob is under siege by Arab Power, under siege by Tupac and the Rat Pack. It seems that K Irish was complicit. Bobby the Greek might have been complicit. All of these forces combining to represent the nouveau riche, if you will, of the underworld, and going up against the old money guard, the iconoclasts, the Rizzutos and the Hells Angels, and not blinking for a second, like bulls in a china shop. And in a lot of ways, they're not thinking about history or legacy, or they're thinking about the here and now. On Monday, they're thinking about how to get to Tuesday. It's not maybe that complicated. And maybe that, like I said, that controlled chaos is working in their advantage. Their leader is in prison too. Tupac, as of the end of 2025, he's in prison, or he's in jail. All the leaders here, for the most part, are locked up. To see where the Irish went from, when I'm talking to sources a year ago about how they viewed him and what he was doing and how he was helping bring peace and positioning himself within the West End gang, for potential for the potential that he could become a future leader of the West End Gang, and getting the power on the street from the West End Gang and from Rizzuto's and Hell's Angels as a part of the union, and to see how fast things are shifting, the tectonic plates underneath the gangland orbit in Canada is just, it's these seismic shifts on just disrupting the entire way things were, and then the disruptions becoming more disruptive the further we get into this. It's really crazy. Baldy Barbario can't do anything. Like we said, he's locked up. But this was a clapback. This was, the third or fourth series of attacks on Rizzuto mob bars and restaurants and cigar bars and coffee houses, nightclubs, dating back to, the holidays. And this was the second time they hit Baldy Barbario's spot. You can only play with fire so many times, put your hand by the stove so many times before you're going to burn your hand off. And the more antagonistic this insurrection becomes, the more bodies you're going to see dropping. And this is, again, the third gangland assassination since the Rizzutos all got locked up. And I don't expect bodies to stop dropping. This is Leo Rizzuto and his guys, allegedly, if they were behind this is them asserting themselves and making it be known that, locked up or not, they're still going to be the Rizzutos. And the Rizzuto name says it all. And they still have an organization, and they still have people working for that organization. They still have people that want to be part of that organization. They are not backing down. They're not wilting. They are proving resilient. I think there's a part of this when it comes to the Hells Angels. And in some ways, this is neither here nor there, but I want to kind of maybe end on this note, because I have a lot of people asking me, like, well, why aren't the Hells Angels being more assertive or active in retaliations with the attacks on the Rizzuto properties in the last 8, 9, 10 months? And I think some of it has to do with the leadership of the Canadian Hells Angels, Montreal, Ontario, Marty Robert, Nurgut Stadnik. They're running the whole show for 81 Nation. 7,000 patches, 700 chapters, 70 countries. That's a lot of responsibility and a lot of bandwidth. So without them, it might take some of their focus away from what's happening on the home front, especially if it's not their properties being attacked. Now, Marty Robert, according to La Presse, and we should give La Presse props for breaking the news about K Irish and being able to put out there that they were the first to report that K Irish. They were the first to identify K Irish as the murder victim, and then they've also been at the forefront of some other stuff. And we always want to give them credit. We've learned a lot from them, and in terms of I think the French speaking press, them and the Journal de Montreal are excellent sources of information. And they reported that Marty Robert was at Cafe Juliana, the Rizzuto mob headquarters in Laval right now, Joey Gator's spot for a Christmas party. I followed that up with reporting that he was at Cafe Juliana at some point in the last couple of weeks. So you never know when these attacks are going to take place. We also reported that some casino and other properties tied to Marty and the Hells Angels got shot up back in the fall too. So I don't know how much the everyday Hells Angels global politics is taking Marty and Nurgit's attention away from what's happening on the home front in Montreal. One of their guys is is fighting the Project Alliance case, race. Larry, he's in there with the Rizzutos. So I think that they're definitely not unengaged, but there are probably some other bandwidth issues that they're dealing with. And in some ways, I think that actually bodes well for the Rizzutos in that they've done what they've done based on my sourcing without really tapping the arsenal that is the Hells Angels. So it's like they haven't played that card yet. It's like, beat at halftime of a football game and you haven't rolled out your star running back yet, but you're still ahead in the game. Well, we'll learn more as the days go on, but another gangland assassination in Quebec. This week, Kyle Grabowski, K Irish, 40-year-old Irish crime lord, one of the most powerful Irish mobsters in Canada, was doing a lot of speaking on behalf of the West End gang in this last year. Based on our sourcing, try to make a backdoor deal with the Arab Power gang. That backdoor deal got exposed by the Rizzuto mob, and now this is 3 bodies of 3 different gangland figures that at one point were aligned with the Rizzutos and in more recent times opposed them either outwardly or more on the low key. But those decisions to oppose the Rizzutos cost these people their lives. So it's surreal. Original Gangsters Podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. All the breaking news when it comes to organized crime in North America. We spend a lot of time on what's going on in Canada because that's where all the action is right now. We have our sources and our moles spread out amongst the entire country, both on the street and in law enforcement, and they're constantly bringing us information that we can, go and vet and go and confirm ourselves and bring it to you, giving you the most elite analysis and most elite insight when it comes to this. You're going to get a lot of reporting on this in the next couple of days, but nobody is going to be telling you where this all came from. Just like where I told you where the Bobby the Greek hit came from, and just like I told you where the Kabuchi murder came from. It's all coming from inside. It's all coming from the Rizzutos. And this is Leo Rizzuto allegedly trying to go in a different direction that his father went in when his father got locked up, and he didn't immediately act. This is the Sicilian Rizzuto mob instinctively reacting to infringements on their territory, people outwardly challenging them, trying to dismantle the dynasty. They do it at their own at a cost, at their own peril. So please like, share, and subscribe. Original Gangsters Podcast, uncovering the underworld, one city, one region, one country, sometimes one continent at a time. I'm Scott Burnstein. I'm out.